So my mom and I were super excited to drive up from Maryland to upstate New York to go to Rhinebeck. Here are all the duckies in her Jeep, and of course she had to get some rows in while I was driving. We had coffee at Dunkin', which was disappointing, but we'd had good coffee later in the trip and that morning. We stopped in the town of Beacon to explore and saw this adorable kitty who lived in a used bookstore. And then we kept driving to my brother's campus where we were staying in his apartment and got dinner with him and his girlfriend at a very lovely Italian restaurant before heading to bed and resting up. The next day, we woke up to beautiful fall foliage and started the day planning for all our yarn shopping before getting coffee at Kelly's. We spent the morning walking around campus with my brother and his girlfriend. Honestly, this campus is so gorgeous. It's very Harry Potter Hogwarts. Then we checked out a little bit of Rhinebeck, some antique stores, and walking around the beautiful Gilmore Girls-esque streets before heading to Indie Untangled. So the setup of this was at this horse farm arena, and it was absolutely packed with beautiful yarn and people browsing. This was an indie dyer's dream, so everything that I saw was hand dyed. I miss that fiber. I wish I had gotten that to spin. People's outfits were amazing, even this dog. And there was honestly no shortage of things to look at. I wish we had had longer than our time slot of an hour and a half to look around, but we did definitely get a good taste of it, and we're ready for moving on and getting some hot and yummy dinner before prepping for Rhinebeck the next day. So we just got back at the end of our long day. This is my featured guest today, my mom, Carrie. And we learned to knit together like 10 years ago, more or less. And today we went to Indie Untangled and we got the 4 to 5:30 slot. And it was a lot of fun, but to me, I don't think that was enough time to really see it because I'll put footage in, but basically there were 3 tents and they were pretty far away from each other. So by the time we got to the 3rd tent, they were already saying that we only had 15 minutes left. And of course we did get the cheapest slot, which was the end of the day.
It was the only available slot.
But it was the only available, which I think is a rookie mistake. So
we should have signed up much earlier.
Yeah, if you do want to do things on Friday, and Indie Untangled I think was really nice. Like there was still plenty of stuff left to look at.
And the drive there was gorgeous.
Yeah, and it was a gorgeous area. It was at like a horse farm, I think, a horse area.
Show area?
Yeah. So great stuff, but definitely I would have loved like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to check it out.
Yeah.
But we did find some good stuff though. So we're gonna do a little haul.
Should I go first?
Yeah, you wanna start?
Yes. Okay, so I don't have my notes to tell you.
That's okay. I remember what they're for.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got some Yarn Jam yarn. It is small batch, hand dyed in Virginia, so it's close to our home. What is it? Dye lots. It is, what is this? Oh, here it is. I got colored stone. It's a Surrey halo, so 65% baby Surrey alpaca and 35% silk. And it's 437 yards. So I got 4 just in case because I don't want to do yarn chicken. So I overshot, but I want to pair this with my own sheep's worsted to make
An Aran.
What was that pattern?
So the pattern I remember because we were prepping this morning. We did a lot of research before, and it's called a Corshon sweater, and I'll put a picture up, but it's a pretty like basket weave stitch chunky sweater, so that's gonna look really good in a gray.
Yes, or even like a light gray, like
a silver.
Hansa's, my sheep has started out really dark charcoal, and now she's pretty light gray.
Yeah, and it looks like your hair a lot.
Yeah, it'll look like my hair.
Yeah, kind of a silvery.
Yeah, so I got that, and then Clara, when she was in New Zealand, brought back some beautiful dark green possum.
It's a possum merino.
Possum merino, right? Well, I just call it my possum. I think it's really beautiful, and I picked a pattern that calls for a possum mix. And then I wanted to get a soft halo yarn for it. So
It's a Surrey alpaca.
I found this, which is
I love that color.
perfect to mix with the green possum mix.
It's like the same tone as the green one she has. This is just a little lighter. It's really pretty. It's like a forest, and I really liked all the yarn that this company had. It's Red Stag. I hadn't heard of it before, but it's an alpaca, silk, merino, and yak blend. And I don't remember what pattern you were gonna make with that. Do you? Was it the petite knit one?
I think
the
so.
ribbing?
Yes.
All right, I'll put that up. We're too frazzled and fried to remember
Awesome.
all the different patterns, and then so she was definitely getting a lot of Surrey alpaca today. That was the theme of the day. And my haul is a little more meager, a little less exciting, but I went in just wanting to get one skein of yarn to make the Lake Reed hat for my boyfriend, and he wants it in exactly the same colorway as the pattern photo, which I'll put up. But I got this from Casey Knits, this hand-dyed yarn. To me, it looks kind of like pine or Christmas tree, and it's got variegation in lighter shades and then tones of like a blue green versus a true green. And it's a DK, and it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, so it'll hold up and you can
Nice
wash it
dry
and
hat.
stuff. Yeah. So that was today, and
And in
tomorrow
between, we did RHINEBECK and coffee
Yeah.
shop with friends, and
we went to a lecture because we're staying with my brother on campus.
art history was amazing.
So yeah, we've been very productive day, and tomorrow we are waking up early and we're going to the New York Sheep and Wool all day, trying to get there for opening. And you have a bunch of different sweaters you want to get yarn for. And
We'll see what happens.
yeah, I want to get yarn for one sweater and possibly one vest, but we're keeping it. We're off to a good start.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, check in tomorrow.
RHINEBECK, as in New York Sheep and Wool itself, the main event was such an absolute whirlwind of a day. There was a super long line, even though we just got there when it opened, but it moved really quickly, and before we knew it, we were in the gates. I lost my mind at the kangaroos. I was not expecting that. We got to visit our favorite pottery button place where I got my first little purchase. And my brother was roaming around, got a beer as we explored super happily, as you can see. I helped my mom get a couple sweater quantities, but the best part, other than the wool, was of course the sheep and the goats and the Angora bunnies and everything you could imagine. It was very beautiful and sunny. We had to shed our layers at a certain point. We got empanadas for lunch, por supuesto, very delicious, and then just salivated over all of the beautiful yarn for the rest of the day. I was blown away with the variety of fibers and suppliers and people's outfits. Like, look at these mushroom hats. So let's get into a mini haul.
What did you get, Clara?
I got my first big purchase of the day, yarn from Green Mountain Spinnery for the Lakes Pullover O-neck sweater.
Are you excited?
I love it. I think my mom helped me pick the color.
Yay!
Hi guys. So we were all honestly super exhausted after the actual day of New York Sheep and Wool, which was Saturday. So I'm coming back a little later to film this update. It's Tuesday today, and I have a very exciting haul and just my thoughts on the festival in general. Just in general, I had so much fun. My mom had so much fun. Even my brother was there, who he doesn't knit, he doesn't crochet anything. It was an overwhelming day. I have to say, I read in advance that Saturday was very crowded, And Sunday was the day to come if you're a bit of an introvert, which I definitely am, and you just prefer to have a more chill, explorative shopping experience. So I have to say, in the future, if I got to pick a day, I'd come on Sunday, which just didn't work out with our schedule. My only other experience at a festival of that scale is at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, which I'm from Maryland, so I've been there quite a few times. So that's kind of like my point of comparison. And I spoke to another girl who we were waiting in line at the empanada truck, and it was like an Argentine empanada truck, and we were both Argentine American, so we were just chatting. And she had been to this one a couple times, and I had been to the Maryland one a couple times. And at the same time, I said, oh yeah, this one's a lot bigger. And she says, no, the Maryland one's a lot bigger. So whether or not there's a size difference is up to debate, but I think we were just familiar with our own ones, and they're both really big. You can definitely spend all day there. I think we did like 11,000 steps, and my feet were so sore at the end of the day because I was just in my Adidas. So I will say one thing that I noticed between the Maryland and the New York Sheep and Wool is that the actual buildings in the Maryland Festival have more walking space. So I felt very claustrophobic some of the day in the New York Sheep and Wool buildings, because you'd be walking down the center alley, and like I'd have to hold hands with my mom to make sure we didn't lose each other in the crowd. And then the actual stalls themselves would be full with people, so I would skip entire businesses or vendors because I just didn't want to go in and like butt into a crowd of people. That does sound very negative. I will say that was like at peak time on Saturday, so I'm sure like at the end of the day it was a totally different experience. Like we were there until basically close, and it was so chill at the end of the day, and there was none of that, and nothing was picked over either. I loved it. I came away with a lot of beautiful things that I'm so excited to start knitting. So let's get into the haul. Okay, so I went in there with a couple specific goals. I have a lot in my stash already because I've been knitting for so long, and I'm pretty good about buying project quantities. So I already have a lot of projects that I'm ready to cast on, and I don't want to like ignore those things because I already have them. So I went in not wanting to buy a lot. So the first thing I got were those buttons for the Stanford, and this is probably my favorite brand ever, like in the history of the world. They're called Hall & Hoof, and they make ceramic and wood buttons, and everything they make is so adorable. Like this little vest that I'm wearing right now, it has these porcelain buttons from Hall & Hoof, and their stuff definitely isn't cheap, but it's all handmade, hand painted, and hand carved, and I'm obsessed with it. So whenever I see it at a festival, my mom and I do a little haul. So I got these toggle buttons. I think they're in a black walnut, but I'm not sure. If anyone knows about wood, please tell me. And they're for like the quarter, not zip, but button portion for my Stanford sweater. And then while I was at that stand, I was overwhelmed by how cute everything was, and I couldn't stop myself from picking up these adorable little mushroom stitch markers. I'm someone who like will use anything as a stitch marker. I'll use rings on my finger, I'll use a rubber band, I'll use like a piece of scrap yarn that I just knot in a loop. So having, you know, really adorable ceramic stitch markers is definitely a step up, and I'm so excited to crack them open and use them now that I've put them in the vlog. So that was my first purchase. But the second thing that I got was for that Lakes pullover, which I just had this strong vision. I originally wanted it in a navy, but I wanted something really rustic, like something you would wear at a lake house or like a cabin, and that you could just throw on and feel super cozy and comfy and kind of rustic. So when I found this yarn called the Weekend Wool from Green Mountain Spinnery, I just could not stop thinking about it. I actually walked away without it, and then I had to come back because I was like, I need that, that's perfect. And Green Mountain Spinnery is a Maine brand, no, a Vermont brand, sorry. But when I was going to school in Maine, I picked up some of their like cotton wool blend and I made my mom a Maggie cardigan, and they are just so spot on with their colors, the way their fabric feels, or like the fabric from their yarn feels, and they have tweed like on lock. I love their tweed. Like, look how beautiful these red and gold hues are. So I got a sweater quantity of this. I think I got like 7 or 8 skeins, I'm not sure, to make that oversized sweater. Then much later in the day, after I got those 2 things, I was like, all right, you know, I have everything that I need that was on my list. So from here on out, I'm only gonna get something spectacular if it blows me away. And I'm just kind of there to have fun and help my mom shop and look around. But we were in this other tent much later, like after lunch, and I saw a woman driving by on an electric wheelchair with one of those little carts or like baskets. And I saw there was Jagger Spun yarn in there. So I found out about Jagger Spun and like what's going on with that company by following All Wool, who has this amazing cozy YouTube channel, which is one of my favorites, so I'll tag her here. You know, I heard that that brand, which is one of the last mills in the US, it's a wool mill in Maine, it shut down earlier in the year, and right now their product and like the things they had left in stock are just being donated to thrift stores up in Maine. So of course, like, first of all, it's a tragedy that such a lovely business and mill closed down. And second of all, it's a personal tragedy for me that I would never be able to get my hands on some of this yarn because I loved it so much. But then she had skeins of Jagger Spun in her cart, and I'm like, where did you get those? And she said, oh, I got them from that stand, but I'm sorry, I took all of it. I'm like, girl, you do you. Like, I would have done the same. But I went over to that stand anyways, and I saw that there was more Jagger Spun in other colors. So this stand, I think they took overstock and they took like stuff that wasn't sold anymore, and they sold it there at discounted rates. So there was all this Jagger Spun in all these different colors. I was like salivating at this point, at very discounted rates. So I got 2 sweater quantities of it, and you can see like the discounted stickers. But Jagger Spun as a brand is known for doing kind of funky plied yarn and like really beautiful heathered color schemes. So I was so blown away when I saw this beautiful heathered, it's almost like an opalescent blue, purple, and pink. I really love it. I think it's something that I haven't seen out there before. 100% wool, and it's in the color aquamarine, and I'd say it's a DK weight or even maybe a worsted weight. So I got 1 sweater quantity of this marled aquamarine, and they were only $7.50 a skein. I'd say usually these would probably be out there for more than $20 a skein, knowing wool prices. So I was ecstatic at that. And then I found the same yarn in the color gorse, which I think is a type of bird, I'm not sure. But it's this rust brown orangey heather. It's a little less dramatically heathered, but I love wearing this color as a brunette with kind of like autumn toned features. But I think this with some cables and maybe like a V-neck or like a turtleneck, I don't know. I have a lot of visions for this yarn, and I'm so excited to work with it. So finally, the last round we did was kind of like a, let's see what we weren't able to see yet. I think we had 2 barns that we hadn't checked out yet. And we ran into this alpaca company, the one that only had 19 animals. And it was a couple running the brand or the store, and they were so sweet. And they were very patient as we literally felt everything in that stand because it was soft beyond belief. And I ended up picking out some of this. I think it's a lace weight yarn, 90% alpaca, 10% cormo wool, and it's dyed with weld in this beautiful like lime lemongrass green color. And I got 2 skeins of it to hold it together. I don't know where my other one is, it's in this bag, to get a fingering weight. And I want to make like a pair, kind of like penny gloves, but maybe with like a little lace design or a little scarf, or if I have enough, the two as a matching pair to go together. So that was my haul, all in all. I had such a good time. Honestly, like I had a tiredness hangover when I got back from that trip. As a total, I think just the expectations, and you're so excited for something and then it finally happens and you want to make the most out of it. And I had such a good time like being there with my family, and I was really happy with the experience. Right now I have so much yarn to knit through that my mom and I pinky promised that we're not going to go into any more yarn events, like yarn shopping events, for a year at least. But I'm really excited to cast on. I think I'm going to cast on my Lakes pullover first, because that's the one that I had planned, and like I'm ready to buy that pattern, ready to get set on that. I highly recommend going to Rhinebeck, especially if it's nearby. I think even just going for one day would be more than enough. The area in general is really cute, and you should definitely check out like other things that are in the area. The next day, on Sunday, we went to the International Pickle Festival, which I now have merch for, which was maybe half an hour away from Rhinebeck, maybe an hour. But the region has a lot of cute stuff to do. So that was my vlog for this year. Maybe one day I'll be doing an updated Rhinebeck vlog once I have money in my account to spend on yarn again and I'm ready to redo the experience and I can apply all that I learned this year. Let me know down below if you went to Rhinebeck or you went to another local sheep and wool festival. Which ones are your favorite? What was your experience? And I'm going to peace out now and say bye and leave you with some footage from the Pickle Festival. So bye guys, thank you so much for joining. Happy knitting.